Let me get everything set up, give it a minute for people to get on here. We are live. What's going on, everybody? Give me just a second to get everything set up. Hopefully everybody's having a good night. We're going to do some talking about motorcycles today. Always a good day to talk about motorcycles. And I will be answering. All right, there we go. We're live. Now I can see the questions. Let me turn the volume down. What's going on, Mark? Before we get started, guys, it's been a while since I've done a live video. It's been a while since I've done any video. Thank you, everyone, for the birthday wishes. Thank you, everyone, for all the text and stuff that you sent. Had a great time, and I am glad to be back in front of you guys making videos. Also, while I was gone, there was some tragedy of things that happened. Guys, my thoughts and prayers are with everybody in North Carolina and in Florida that were in Tennessee. So, yeah, that happened while I was out, and didn't get a chance to make a response about that. But hopefully everybody is good, and I'm glad to be back on YouTube in front of you after taking a little bit of time off. Well, today we are here at Zippers Performance with my friend Adam, the senior developer for Redshift Cams. And today we're going to be coming to you, allowing you guys to ask some questions, but we are talking about cams. Now, if you're familiar with the 468 cam, you developed that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yes, absolutely.
You're familiar with the 552 cam or the 528 cam that was in that Road Glide in the last video, you developed that, right?
Yes, that's
All
correct.
Right. So, if you want to ask about cams, now is the time. I have the man here. He's right there. We can ask him anything you want about a cam for your Harley-Davidson motorcycle. So with that being said, first of all, again, welcome. Thank you for joining the channel, and welcome to Adam. Thank Adam for coming here. And we're going to go ahead and get started. So first, Mark, hey, how you doing? Hollywood Gliding, how are you? Gregory Morgan, what's going on? William Rogers, how you doing? SS Goldwing, Alan, hello to everyone. Thank you guys for joining. We got 24 people here right now. And we're going to start, there's more people. It just takes a delay a little bit. We're going to start with this. Adam, what do you have over there? You have the cam?
I do. I do. This is a big cam. It's a Redshift 584.
584.
So this is what's in your Street Glide that puts down 177 horsepower on pump gas.
On pump gas. So now you developed that cam. What did you have in mind when you developed that cam?
So when we do cam development, it's really more about total engine package development, because to me, it's never just the cam. So, you know, when we start with like a 468 or the new 528 cam, that's very specific to the way that a production engine is made. So when I get to this level of cam, it's really a big engineering study. You have to know everything about the cylinder heads, and it's not just about knowing about it, it's about selecting it.
Right.
You know, in my opinion, really the only good cam designers are engine designers, because it's not about what the cam wants, it's about what the engine wants. So a lot of what I do to be able to come up with this is you're starting with the cylinder head, you're starting with bore, stroke, and there's a lot of computer modeling that goes into figuring out what the engine wants to create the torque curves that we like to ride.
Now this is going crazy over here. There's people asking all kind of questions. So I got the first one. The first one is, can you do a cam that is good for torque and horsepower? Thank you, Alan.
So that's a great question. That's kind of what we shoot for when we do balanced power. You know, we were having this discussion earlier today. It's very easy with an engine to push big horsepower or big torque, but you end up sacrificing one for the other. So there are levels where you can gain horsepower and gain torque. You know, I kind of have a trick that I do that I don't think a lot of other people do.
You gonna tell them?
I'll tell them.
You're gonna give away your trick?
It's a little trick.
Okay.
I figure out what the peak horsepower is that this kit should be producing.
Right.
Right. And then I go back and say, if it's making this power, how do I maximize the torque and not hurt that power?
Right.
So it's very easy to chase, 1, 2, 3 horsepower. I found in the early days of Milwaukee 8, if you gained 1 horsepower, you would cost 4 foot-pounds of torque where you're riding. So it's like, oh, give me 10 horsepower. Okay, but
Then
you're
you're
going
gonna
to
sacrifice the
slash
torque.
your torque down at the bottom. So it's about building something that's balanced and designed to do both.
All right, I got one for you from Hollywood Gliding. What's a good cam for Road Glide 3?
Okay, so Road Glide 3, you need torque. So any of the early torque cams are what I would initially recommend.
468?
So a 468, we've put lots of 468s in trikes. 472s work well also.
I had a 472 in my first sleeper kit.
You did.
Yeah.
And if you did more than just a cam, then of course the cam option would change. But you definitely want to do the most early torque on a trike.
On a trike.
It
That makes
really
sense.
helps. And one of the things I found riding trikes, when you have early torque, it helps steer so much better. You have to ride it to really understand the phenomena, but when you keep that system loaded with torque, wow, they handle so much better.
All right, so I have Motor City 2 Up says a 528 cam. Do we need to switch out the throttle body on the 24 plus Harley-Davidsons?
Okay, so on our 117, we did not. We left the stock throttle body, the stock manifold.
And it made good power.
And it made, what
it's
were
a
the
rocket.
numbers? 130 some torque,
20-something horsepower.
125 horsepower,
Yeah.
something like that. And it did fantastic.
It did.
If you want to continue up in horsepower, yes, you would want to do that. But our opinion, as far as the bolt-in cam with the 528, it is not necessary.
Not necessary.
I do want to say one thing is very necessary. You need a better air cleaner. You
Yeah.
will not make those numbers with the factory air system.
Airflow is key, right? I mean, it's just key of, being able to get, the more air into an engine, this is how somebody taught me a long time ago. The faster you can get the air in and the faster you can get the air out, it's usually how you make more power. And is that true? I know it's more complicated than that.
Partially, yes.
Partially,
I would
okay.
say yes, that is absolutely true. But you really need the cam to be like the conductor of an orchestra.
Yeah.
The cam is the brain, and it's telling when to allow the air in and when to open the valves, when to close.
Okay. Now, so let me ask you, I have more questions. So I'll get to y'all's questions in just a second. Let's start. We're going to take this opportunity to kind of start at the base, at the bottom, the base. So a cam. First of all, when you hear people say, does that bike have a cam in it? Well, yeah, it does. Even your stock motorcycle has a cam in it. People are talking about an aftermarket cam. Now, however, how you make power from a cam. Now, I know that, you have an engineering answer. Let's keep it very simple. Why does a cam make power changing out the cam from a stock cam?
It's kind of like what I was just saying. The cam is really the brains of the operation.
Right.
So what we're doing when you design a cam is you're designing how the airflow goes in and out of the engine. And I'll tell you, it is not just about getting the most in.
Okay.
Bigger does not always mean better with engines.
True.
You'll hear that from me a lot. It needs to be appropriately sized, not just bigger. So what the cam is doing is when you're taking that stock cam out, they have very set parameters of what they're trying to achieve on that production motorcycle. And then we have parameters we're trying to achieve. So what we're doing is, a lot of it's based off of the ride, all the engineering data we come up with, but we are changing how the air comes in and goes out to be able to optimize the efficiency and make the most power where you ride, because the cam can really change. Is it going to be at the top? Is it at the bottom?
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this. So you have some people, I'll get to questions, but you have some people that will have a cam that just chopping, just chop, 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 chop. And it sounds fantastic.
Yes.
I was told, I'm not going to say who told me that, but I was told a lot of those cams is chop, 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 sounding fantastic, making no power. They just sound really good. Is there anything to that? Just because it's chopping, making, a lot of noise, does that mean that it's going to be, because some people kind of equate that, say, okay, it sounds good, it must run really good.
If you asked me this question 20 years ago, we have to say it this way.
Yeah.
20 years ago, we would say the biggest, the loudest, and the slowest. And we meant that
Wow.
too.
Okay.
Back then, with those engines, the Evos, the early twin cams, it was very difficult to make a cam that had that lope, that chop to it, but didn't hurt the torque. It's so easy. Why does a drag car or a drag bike sound like that?
Yeah.
Well, it's because it has a giant cam in it because it's optimized to make big horsepower.
Right.
Now, the beauty is the world's kind of changed.
Yeah.
So with the advent of the Milwaukee 8, we've been able to do some pretty astounding things. And it's really the way that Harley's made the cylinder head.
Yeah.
We've been able to make, so on an M8, like my motorcycle, I have a 468 and a 114.
Yep.
I have the idle set at like 800. Oh my goodness. Everywhere I
Has that
go,
chop sound.
Everybody wants to talk about that chop, that idle. And my bike does not lack torque.
No.
It is very fast. So we're in very good times where we're actually able to give you everything. We can give you that sound that you want, but not hurt the power. Actually, improve the power where you're riding. So
now someone asked, let's go back, torque and horsepower cam for a 23 Harley-Davidson Road Glide Special.
So that's going to be a 114. So, I would say in that platform, you can use either the 468 or the 472. They bolt right in. They're very similar on the dyno. They don't have a huge difference. A lot of it comes down to how you ride, where you ride. Are you riding two up? Are you riding with loaded saddlebags?
And where you shift.
And where you shift,
Yeah.
too.
If you're an early shifter, you don't want to. Do you want a 468?
You want all that power where you're actually shifting. Now, the one thing I will say is, if you live in parts of the country or the world where you're consistently on long stretches of highway, where you can go into speed limits that are, you can go into very high rates of speed as far as touring goes. You know, if you're rolling, I know people say they'll roll, 90 miles an hour. Well, there's places where the speed limit is that.
Yeah.
If you're running 90 to 110 with your friends constantly on touring bikes, which I don't do, but some people do.
Yeah.
Some
people do that.
I would lean towards the 472 because it's going to give you a little bit more balanced power. So for me and the way I ride, I like that early hit, and it would do fantastic. So, anything that we're going to put out in that range is going to work really well. It's not going to be super radical in either end. So,
All right, I got another one for you from Charlie from New Hampshire. He says, 2023 114 motor, Softail, torque or horsepower. Oh, I'll say this. A lot of people, they've been taught that you get a horsepower cam or you get, we're live here, just you get a horsepower cam or you get a torque cam. I don't know if that's what he's saying or not, but he's saying the 2023 114 motor, Softail, torque or power, stage 2.
Well, I can speak directly because I ride a Street
That's what
Bob.
you have, yeah.
I have a Street Bob 114 and I love the motorcycle. It's kind of funny. I set my bike up with a 468 because I wanted that low end torque.
Yeah.
But my bike came with a stock head pipe and a set of Reinhardts. Slip-ons are expensive these days. Holy cow, it was $1,000 for those things. That's what came on the bike. So I have a soft exhaust system matched with an early torque cam. And it actually gives a pretty, what I would call a soft opening, and then the peak takes off at 3,000 and it generates horsepower.
Yeah.
So in essence, I've kind of set mine up more for horsepower than torque, but I did it because I ride a lot commuting. I ride a lot inclement weather, and I really wanted it. I actually wanted it to be manageable down low.
Yeah.
Because the thing about some of the Softails are they have little skinny tires, and you can break that tire loose so quickly, you know.
So now, this is the question I have. Well, not a question, I guess a statement that maybe you can clear up. You got a good tuner, you got a good cam, but then you skimped out on the exhaust. You know what I mean? A bad exhaust can really hurt you, right?
It will make it or break it is what it boils down to.
Yeah.
It can absolutely kill it. And the reason is, I always tell people an exhaust system is like, do you know Crew, where they have like those long boats with like 10 people and they're all rowing and there's a guy beating a drum? Probably don't do that anymore.
Yeah,
but
they do.
The
skeleton racing.
To get that thing going as fast as possible, and I only know this from the old Atari game, by the way, but to get it going as fast as possible, it's all about the harmonic and the rhythm that is happening. So an exhaust system is setting the harmonics. It's setting the rhythm of the pulses. There is when air enters the engine, it is moving like this. It is an in and an out. It is an in and an out. It is a very dynamic situation.
That's where you're hearing that chop, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So a lot of times the chop means we have a lot of overlap. So the valves are open at the same time. Again, if you have a racing engine with big head flow, that chop really kills the torque.
Yeah.
But on an M8, where you have big intake flow and relatively small exhaust flow, it actually helps torque. It's pretty interesting.
Now I have another one right here. Where did it go? It says, Motor City 2-Up says, do you get better horsepower with a 2-in-2 or a 2-in-1? Guess it depends on if it's an M8 twin cam or whatever.
You know, that's a very good question. Very, very good question. We tend to prefer the all-around nature of the 2-in-1s.
Yeah.
Meaning, I feel that you usually can make similar peak horsepower with both.
Right.
But the torque curve is going to be very different. And I think that, you know, I've seen it where it may only vary 1 or 2 at the top between the two, but the difference between a 2-in-1 and a 2-in-2 has a huge difference between 2,000 and 3,500. That's really where the difference is.
I'm a 2-in-1 guy now. At first, I didn't want a 2-in-1. I would always go 2-in-1 and 2 because it's just one of those things to balance. If it looks like this on this side of the bike, I want it to look like that on that other side of the bike. And I don't like dummy pipes. But when I got my first 2-in-1, it was just felt different. And I can't explain it. Just felt different. Felt like it had a little bit more power, personally. You know what I mean? I don't know if it did, but it just felt like it did. So everything that I have now going forward is always going to be 2-in-1. It's just, you know, to me, I think it's just a better sound, and you lose some weight because you're only dealing with one side of the pipe. But as far as anything else goes, I don't know.
You know, I find riding a 2-in-1, a good 2-in-1, it gives you a much rowdier ride of the motorcycle.
Yeah.
You get more instant torque, more instant hit, and I think really they're both going to make, if they're sized right, they're both going to make very good horsepower at the top. Okay. You know, we've run a lot of true duals here, and they'll make real flat, linear torque curves, and the 2-in-1s tend to have just a hit right at the start.
Yeah.
And that hit is what makes it rowdy.
I shouldn't even ask this, but I just want to hear the answer. Aftermarket or Harley? What do you think?
Which parts? That's what it boils down to.
Hey, that's a good answer.
Because
there is some Harley
honest
parts.
to God, I will buy I have bought multiple Harley-Davidson motorcycles, but that's what they do best. Their production of their motorcycle is very good.
Oil pump's good.
Their late oil pump is
fantastic. There's a couple things that they've improved on, so you can't just say that anymore. You know what I mean?
Well, so all of our M8s now, we only use stock oil pumps and stock cam plates.
Yeah.
And I know that freaks a lot of people out, but honestly, after 2020, they work fantastic.
Yeah.
Put the money somewhere else is the way I see it.
Yeah. Well, okay. So El Jefe says the Star 3030 cam removed any lingering fears about torque in my dry glide. Okay, well, that's just a statement or whatever. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see. What percentage gains are there from a similar built M8 with true duals versus 2-in-1? You kind of went over that.
Yeah, it really changes the torque curve. A lot of times with a true dual, you might actually see a higher torque value.
Right.
Like you may be 132 torque instead of 130, but it's more of a peak instead of like a lot of times. A bad exhaust system gives you a very narrow torque curve.
Yeah.
And a good exhaust system gives you a very broad torque curve. And what that means is you have more RPMs where you smack that throttle and it just takes off. So a lot of times a 2-in-1, in our opinion, is going to give that rowdier, bigger hit down low. I will make this statement. Some people don't like that instant, immediate, rowdy power. It's kind of like I was saying with my Softail. It gets sketchy in the rain with that
just breaking loose everywhere you go.
Breaking loose constantly.
Yeah.
So there are times when you can overdo it
Yeah.
with torque. So you really need to know where you ride and what you want. Or be honest with what you do when you talk to your service providers on what you want.
Well, with my Street Glide, we could have made early torque on it. Well, we're making early torque on it, but we could have made more torque on the Street Glide down low. But I'll be honest with you, the way I was launching it, I'm going to spin. I mean, it wasn't. I couldn't put the power to the ground. I had enough torque right there at the beginning. So the way it's set up for me, once I get out a little bit further, you know what I mean? That's when the torque, it does hit, but it comes on and it just puts the power to the ground out there instead of trying to manage a whole bunch. Okay, this is what I'm trying to say. If I'm trying to pour a cup of water, I might have a 5-gallon bucket, okay? And I'm trying to pour a glass of water. It's harder to manage that 5-gallon bucket to pour that glass of water. Now, if I have a 5-gallon, what is those things you water flowers out of, whatever, the spout, then it comes out slower, but, it's more manageable, and then later on, I can really pour it on there and it's getting the job done. So I prefer a little bit later torque than, enough torque to get me going, but a little bit later torque once the motorcycle is getting up into some speed. But that's just me. Some people
and that's because you have a big bore kit and you have a lot of power. So we're in a time now where it's very easy to make too much power for these chassis. It really is. I mean, you can break these things loose and scare yourself so easy. It's fantastic. I love it. But with that said, so his motorcycle, if you're trying to run at the drag strip, you don't want big, giant early torque because you need to get that tire to hook up and take off. Yeah. So when you do get to the level of where you're at, where you've got a big bore, you've got headwork, you've got cams, there's a point where it's like, okay, Adam, slow down, soften that torque a little bit because I literally can't get this tire to hook up. Yeah. Tractability is something that's very important on a motorcycle, and you lose that with too much torque in certain applications.
Do you want to explain this? I got some questions, but real quick. I don't think I was talking to somebody recently and they kept talking about something about torque. Can you explain, let's keep it simple, the difference between horsepower and torque and why torque is so important?
Well, the easiest way I can say it is torque is what gets the motorcycle moving. Torque is what accelerates you off the line. Torque is what you feel when you smack that throttle. Yeah. Horsepower comes into play when you are at the higher RPMs of the engine. So, you feel that torque curve when you're cruising and smack the throttle. And the horsepower really, that's what gives you the legs to catch down to catch somebody. Yeah. With torque, hopefully you're going to launch and take off and they're not going to be able to catch you. But Horsepower is what will allow you to run somebody down. So if you're riding at 60 miles an hour and the guy beside you looks over and smacks the throttle,
Yeah.
you know, it's going to be torque that launches it, but it's going to be horsepower that's going to ultimately win that.
So hypothetically, in a scenario, if someone was to go to a country that just lets you run on the roads as fast as you want,
The Autobahn.
yeah, the Autobahn.
We go to Germany.
And I'm beside someone, they look at me, I look at them, we're running 60 miles per hour.
Yeah.
Am I gonna wish that I had a big torque cam? We're already running 60, or a big horsepower cam.
So I'm glad you asked this. When we built your big stage 4 128 in your Street Glide, we built it with this cam right here, 584. And I rode it around and I came back and multiple other people rode it and were like, oh my goodness, that is a home run. That thing is crazy. I came back and I was like, no, I got to do something else. And they're like, what are you talking about? And it's exactly what you just said.
Yeah.
It's that 60 mile an hour. I'm just cruising along, minding my own business, and all of a sudden I have to smack the throttle and go.
Yeah.
And because we set that up very soft with big horsepower for the drag strip,
Yeah.
it lost that. It lost that torque right where you were cruising to get it to launch.
Oh, okay.
So I just didn't feel, now if I downshifted, it would take off like a rocket.
Right.
But it didn't have that immediate snatch. So I came up with a new cam, the 588, which it operates in the same environment where it's going to be 170 some horsepower deal, but it hits a lot earlier. And that's what you left with the first time when
Yeah.
you were riding it around.
Yeah.
But it proved to be difficult on the drag strip. You know, I always ask people, do you ride on the street or are you racing? If you can answer that, oh, life is easy. We can set you up so well for racing or set you up so well for the street.
Right.
It's when you want to do both that it's like, okay, we can do that, but now we really have to talk. Now we really have to figure out, where do you need this power and why? We can pretty much put it wherever you want, but it's all about where you need it for what you're doing.
Yeah. Hey, let me answer this question for you guys. I can answer this. Somebody said the zippers work on consumers' bikes like the average person. Let me explain something to you. We were talking about this today. They have an engine building room where they're constantly building people's motors, right?
Oh yeah.
You want to tell them a little bit about that?
Yeah, we'll do short blocks, we'll do full engine builds. We don't have a facility where we work on people's motorcycles.
Right.
Obviously, we work on yours, but you know, you are our brand ambassador, you are our sponsored YouTuber, and you are a tester as well. So your position's a little bit different. We are just not set up for that. We have lots of dealers. I mean, if you look,
But you can.
but what we are set up for is the machining and the engines. You know,
Yeah.
I always say we do engines, transmissions, and primaries very well. That's really, you know, tuning, but it's the drivetrain that we do the best. And we're just not set up as a service provider because we're a manufacturing facility. You know, our facility is many times greater than most motorcycle shops you would go
Yeah.
in, but it's almost none of it's a motorcycle shop. It's, oh, this is a giant machine shop, or this is a development area. So
Yeah.
really the best thing you can get from us is what you just said. We won't build an engine in your chassis for you, but if you have a provider, we will be happy to build the motor. We even test fire them and have them ready to go.
And a lot of shops, I don't know if I can say this or not, but a lot of shops that people are dealing with are sending their heads here anyway. But
Yeah.
can a consumer send their heads straight here?
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
So yeah.
Yeah.
So
And you know, I always talk about we do engine kits. That's really for me because I'm trying to lay out the total package. But everyone has different theories, and there's a lot of smart people in this industry. So there's a lot of people who may want to do things
Right.
differently. And we're happy to sell a cam for whatever application you have. If you have, you know, if you just want us to do heads or just want us to do cylinders, absolutely.
yeah.
You know,
Oh, and by the way, Scott, what's up, Scott Lynn? Papa D, he's, as far as I know, not yet, but that's coming soon for his
Oh yeah,
assault. So
yeah. I'm excited about that.
yeah. So hopefully, maybe I can even come up and watch. But yeah, so that's coming soon. I do mainly long distance riding. What's a good cam for a 21 Road Glide Special? I want to answer this one. Well, he said a cam. Go ahead,
Yeah.
go ahead. Because I was going to say Zipper's Performance Sport Touring Kit, but I'm always going big bore kit. But go ahead.
That's the big deal. Yeah, if you're going to go into the motor, the sport touring has really just become a fantastic
It's a
kit for
fantastic
us.
package, yeah. But just cam. So what's just a cam? 472?
We always fall back to either the 468 or the 472.
Yeah.
And a lot of that can come down to which exhaust system you have or the nitty gritty of how you ride. But they're both very similar. So it's unlikely if you purchase one of them that you're going to really wish you had the other.
Yeah.
Because they both work so well. Like you or I, like if you're riding every variation, I can probably tell you what cam's in your bike just by riding it.
Oh, yeah.
Because I know the little nuances, but
Yeah.
that's what I do for a living. So
My sister's bike, that thing, man.
so she has a 472
That's
in
like
hers.
something.
So it's kind of interesting that you said that
Yeah.
because we have very similar bikes. We both
Yeah.
have 114s. She has a better exhaust system. She's got the full
D&D.
D&D
Yeah.
2-into-1, and she has a 472.
Yeah.
And hers is set up very similar to mine in terms of the power, where it's a nice gentle opening because we wanted her to be able to ride it in the rain
Yeah.
and not have.
She turned into a maniac.
Oh my! But that thing is.
I mean, she rides that thing now.
if you open the throttle, whew,
I remember at first, I'm just gonna ride regular. I know you're watching. You ride like a maniac. When I went to Key West with you and Leonard, I was in the back of the pack. She was in the front of the pack. I mean, she had that thing. I mean, I could have gotten in front of the pack. I mean, technically probably not because I was on, but she was in the front of the pack and she had that thing running. That bike is super fast. I feel, Leonard, what's he at, 5'11"? And I think he's in his.
No, Leonard has a 528 because
Yeah.
he has the 103 twin cam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was hard. I mean,
And his bike runs fantastic, but it's hard to compete against the big M8s. It really is.
Definitely.
I mean,
definitely.
whew.
All right, guys, we got 70 people on here right now, and where are we at? We're probably about 20 minutes into this video, and I didn't want to be that long into it. So if I get four good questions, we're going to ask Adam these questions, and then we're going to get off here because we're here. I still got stuff to do. You're probably wondering why I'm here. I don't think you're wondering why I'm here. I think they know. I think they know why I'm here. I mean, I'm just here, Anyway.
But we're not working on your truck.
No, we got some other stuff going on that's coming real soon for you guys to see. More power.
And more fun.
And more fun. Yeah. Okay. So do we have anything? Let's see. Okay. Ray says 22 Road Glide ST. When is come on guys, where's the Street Glide people? Somebody from the Street Glide asked a question. But anyway, Ray says, when is the intake manifold and throttle body and injectors need upgraded? Not getting into big bore. Great info, great channel. Thank you, Ray. So I guess he's saying, do you need to upgrade from the 5.5s if you're going with just cam?
So it actually depends on the exhaust system. If you have a really good exhaust system, we have seen where you run to the limit of the injector. So it's not a guarantee that you need an injector, but sometimes you do. We look at it like this. If you're making so much power that you have outrun that injector, that's fantastic if you haven't gotten into the engine.
Yeah.
Now the injector's one thing. The throttle body is interesting because, on the sport touring kit, we still use the stock throttle body.
The stock throttle body,
I mean, that blows a lot of people away. It's a big bore, CNC head package, and it uses a stock throttle body.
Yeah.
And I've been asked why. Why would you do that? It was very intentional why we did that. And again, it's all about airspeed and timing how this all works.
Mm-hmm.
And with the sport touring, that's that early torque, the smooth torque is the way to call sport touring. And And you get that because we didn't go bigger, bigger, bigger. Could I made more horsepower on the sport touring kit? Yeah. But then it becomes a muscle kit and you're harming the torque. So
And it's enough to do what it needs to do. Me and Tanya got on that bike. We rode from Tennessee all the way to California, up to Washington, all the way back, you know what I mean, 2 up, and we had that thing packed down. Every space of the saddlebags, every space of the tour pack. You know how I say packed down like a mine mule? It was packed down like a mine mule. We had that thing packed, and there was a gold wing. I guess I need to stop my video because I'm starting to talk too much. There was a gold wing that acted like he wanted a little something, and he had his wife on the back. And as we were going through Crow Agency in Wyoming, I think, I had to let him know. That's all I got to say. On film, I let him go on, but I wasn't just going to let him run past and thinking that he just could get me. So I had to let him know a little something. And that bike had plenty to go. It had plenty to go. And after taking all that off, I took the tour pack off, I would take that bike to the track. I would take that bike and run on the track. It made an excellent highway bike, and it makes an excellent track bike. It's just a good bike. That sport touring kit on the, you haven't developed one for the new one yet.
It's in process. We're working on it right now.
But the Gen 1 M8s, fantastic. I'm telling you, fantastic. Now,
one thing I want to finish with is we did change the manifold on yours.
Oh, yeah.
And when we do the sport touring, when I put a cam in my bike, I changed the manifold.
Okay.
And the reason was we got rid of the plastic manifold, which is having problems shrinking over time once it gets a lot of heat in it. So a lot of it's really durability. But with a cast one, you know, like with mine, we went in, I took 5 minutes in the porting room and cleaned it up a little bit because I could. And it made a couple extra horsepower because of it. So there's a couple to gain in the manifold, but it's not a lot compared to what it costs. So
hopefully the Wi-Fi doesn't go out. Okay, it's back. That was just my laptop. All right, so that was one question. We got 3 more to go. Let me find a really good one. Let's see. Well, Sean has a question up here. 12 Street Glide, 103. What kit would you suggest?
Oh, okay. That's a good one. That's a good question. You know, it's always about levels. So Leonard has basically the same bike. Right? So we put a 528 in his and it runs fantastic.
He loves it.
He loves it.
Yeah.
But if you want more, the one that I would move to is the Muscle 107.
Yes.
That's the one that, you know, it's a 120 all day long. It'll make even more if you really want. That's always been one of my favorite kits. I would probably say that's my favorite twin cam kit is the Muscle 107. It just has such good torque, but then it pulls like a freight train.
Yeah.
You know, when you get to the 124s, I love them, but it's almost too much. You know, this is a very congested area with traffic, and boy, it's easy to get in trouble with a 124. 107 will get you in trouble too, but that's really my recommendation is the Muscle 107. Sport 107 is very similar as well, but big bore headwork. You know, if you don't have to change the crank, you don't need to. I'll make that statement. You can make good power and it'll run fantastic.
Okay, so Nicholas Bourne says, is there a preference of tuners for Zipper's products and ease of tuning when comparing? What do you think?
Well, we use Thundermax here just for the history of it. We've run them for many years. We were part of the original development team, you know, of Thundermax. We did maps for many, many, many years.
All my bikes have Thundermax.
So
every last one of them.
Pretty much everything here is going to have a Thundermax, but that does not mean that's the only device that's going to work.
Right.
If you asked me, that's what I could help with providing a map for, because that's what we develop off of.
Yeah.
But there's plenty of, you know, if you're a local guy, if he's a Power Vision expert and he doesn't want to touch any other tuners and he's very good with it, go with his knowledge, because you will be able to tune these well with a Power Vision.
Yeah. Okay. Guys, one last question. I'm trying to find a good one. You got anything you want to add? Oh, by the way, I'm not going to count this as a question. Scott says, will you be at the next Run to the Hills 5, Traveling Tall's Run to the Hills 5?
As long as I don't break any more bones, because let's see, 2 years ago, yeah, I broke my wrist and couldn't go last year. This year I made it. I loved it. I definitely want to go again next year.
Good.
I just
You
have
had
to
a good
stay
time with
healthy.
you. Yeah.
So
Yeah, we definitely
I'm not
had a good
healthy.
time.
I have to stop hurting myself. But
Oh, everybody, any cams for the VVTs yet?
no cams for the VVTs
Because you
yet,
can't tune them, right?
because we do not have a good way of tuning them.
Yeah.
I saw a video online of somebody claiming the first big bore kit, and what they did is disabled the VVT. And I get it. Like I'm not talking bad about that, because that's where you're at. That's what you have to do.
Right.
But
But that's
if we don't have a way to tune it, it's difficult for us to be able to make the parts and prove them out.
Yeah.
And we wouldn't want to just make something and just say, here, see how it works.
Yeah.
Everything we do is heavily tested. So
Yeah.
I will say that we certainly hope that we have a tuner here in the near future, because VVT is the way to go. I
Right.
mean, 100%. So
Yeah. Well, guys, I think I'm going to call it. I'm sorry, guys, if maybe you had one more question. But it has been a fantastic time hanging out with everybody tonight. Again, shout out to you guys. Thank y'all for joining the channel. And shout out to Adam. Thanks again, Adam, for being here for this question and answer session. And there will be a video coming soon of that monster around. No, I'm just kidding. Of that road glide, getting something done to it. I'm excited about it. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. I am excited about that road glide. I can't wait to share all the stuff that's done to it. And I guess I like to show people and debut something, but I can't hold this. I got a brand new exhaust. Again, a brand new exhaust coming to you guys. And I will be debuting it on that road glide, and it sounds fantastic.
Oh yeah.
I'm telling you, it sounds fantastic. So, and if you guys say I sound a little different tonight, because once I was out of the country for my birthday, I came back, I was at home for at least 4 days, laid up with some congestion and all that stuff. I felt horrible. So I'm so glad to be out of the house, be around the motorcycles, having a good time, and I can't wait to get back to making videos for you guys. And while I was gone, I clicked over 90,000 subscribers. So thank you guys for doing that. I'm not anybody. I don't chase subscribers. I've been doing this for a while. There's people with way more subscribers than me, but it was cool to see, like, wow, man, maybe I should pay more attention, because I'm just knocking on the door of 100K for subscribers. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for subscribing. Thanks again, Adam, for all the information. And if you like these videos, these live videos, make sure you hit the thumbs up, hit the notification bell to be notified when videos are coming out, and the subscribe button. And make sure you visit zippersperformance.com to see all of Redshift cams, right?
Yep.
All right.
Absolutely.
All right, guys, so I'm going to get out of here. Don't forget, like, share, and subscribe. Keep gliding. And as always, have a blessed day.